Hey all you cool cats and kittens, this is Mrs. Celestin here, back with our last read aloud, The Great Kapok Tree, A Tale of the Amazon Rainforest by Lynn Cherry. So this tree is another great book that goes with our Unit 6, Sharing the Planet, which focuses on our rights and responsibilities of sharing the planet with other plants and animals. Before we get started with this story, the author of this story really, I could tell throughout the book, really wanted us to um, know a lot about the rainforest because they include a map of where you can find different rainforests across the world. You can find rainforests in Indonesia, Malaysia, in Africa, in South America, in Central America. It shows us in this map where the different rainforests are. It also shows us on this side the different layers of the rainforest and some of the creatures that lie in each one of these layers of the rainforest. The author also gives us a little bit more information about what you can expect to find in the rainforest as well with this about page. Let me go ahead and read that. In the Amazon rainforest, it is always hot, and in the heat, everything grows and grows and grows. The tops of the trees in the rainforest are called the canopy. The canopy is a sunny place that touches the sky. The animals that live there like lots of light. Colorful parrots fly from tree to tree. Monkeys leap from branch to branch. The bottom of the rainforest is called the understory. The animals that live in the understory like darkness. There, silent snakes curl around hanging vines. Graceful jaguars watch and wait, and in this steamy environment, the great kapok tree shoots up through the forest and emerges above the canopy. This is the story of a community of animals that live in one such tree in the rainforest. So the author gave us a lot of good information in this page right here. It told us about the different parts of the rainforest. The author talks about the canopy, a sunny place. It's the tops of the trees in the rainforest. Then it told us about another important place in the rainforest, the understory. The understory is the bottom of the rainforest. And the animals that live there like darkness. Then the author also talked about the Great Kapok Tree, which is what this story is all about. The Great Kapok Tree is so large, it goes all the way from the steamy understory and emerges above the canopy. So that means that if the Great Kapok Tree goes all the way from the understory to above the canopy, there's lots of different animals that would surround it. Interesting. All right, let's go ahead and move on to some other important vocabulary words. So, other than the stories, the words canopy and understory, we have two other important words for this story. Our first word is pollinate. What's our word? Pollinate. It is the process that allows plants to reproduce through transferring pollen to other plants. So when plants are pollinated, that's how they're able to grow fruit or flowers. Specific animals or insects have to pollinate plants in order for fruit and flowers to grow. Our last word is oxygen. What's our word? Oxygen is an element found in the air that plants produce and humans breathe in. So humans breathe in oxygen and it helps us maintain life, but it's actually plants that produce it. Interesting. That might make plants really important for humans. So, as we read our story today, I want you to be thinking about the importance of the setting in the story and the problem that's taking place. You're thinking about the importance of the setting, where the story is taking place, and the problem in this story. Two men walked into the rainforest. Moments before, the forest had been alive with the sounds of squawking birds and howling monkeys. Now all was quiet as the creatures watched the two men and wondered why they had come. The larger man stopped and pointed to a great kapok tree. Then he left. Here they are. Here's the man and the great kapok tree right there. The smaller man took the axe. The axe he carried and struck the trunk of the tree. Whack! 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 The sounds of the blows rang through the forest. The wood of the tree was very hard. Chop, chop, chop. The man wiped off the sweat that ran down his face and neck. Whack, chop, whack, chop. Soon the man grew tired. He sat down to rest at the foot of the great kapok tree. Before he knew it, the heat and hum of the forest had lulled him to sleep. A boa constrictor lived in the kapok tree. He slithered down its trunk to where the man was sleeping. He looked at the gash the axe had made in the tree. Then the huge snake slid very close to the man and hissed in his ear, Senor, this tree is a tree of miracles. It is my home where generations of my ancestors have lived. Do not chop it down. Interesting. What did this snake just say to the man in his ear? Why did he say that? I hope you're talking to someone at your house. The snake is talking about how important the tree is, and many of his family members have lived in that tree, so it's very important to him as well. So he doesn't want the man to chop down the tree. Interesting. There's the boa constrictor whispering into the man's ear. A bee buzzed in the sleeping man's ear. Senor, my hive is in the kapok tree, and I fly from tree to tree and flower to flower collecting pollen. In this way, I pollinate the trees and flowers throughout the rainforest. You see, all living things depend on one another. Interesting. The bee says that all living things depend on each other because it goes from tree to tree pollinating the rainforest. And we said that when you pollinate, it helps fruit and flowers grow. So what does that mean? How does the bee show that all living things depend on one another? They're stopping. You're talking about this with your family and you're thinking, pausing your video, how does the bee show that all living things depend on one another? How would The flowers of the rainforest depend on the bee. Think about that. Go ahead and write it down so that you're practicing your writing skills before you go back to third grade. Great, we'll move on. Yes, the bees also talking in the man's ear. A troop of monkeys scampered down from the canopy of the kapok tree. They chattered to the sleeping man. Senor, we have seen the ways of man. You chop down one tree, then come back for another and another. The roots of these great trees will wither and die, and there will be nothing left to hold the earth in place. When the heavy rains come, the soil will be washed away and the forest will become a desert. Wait a minute. Is this reminding anybody of another story that we've read this unit? Scholars, these sentences right here that our troop of monkeys just told us or just spoke remind me of the planting the trees of Kenya. When they cut down all of the fig trees, the soil began to dry up, and when rain came, it washed all the soil away so that there was just dust. Interesting. So that must be a feature of trees. Their roots help keep the earth together. They help keep the soil together and keep the soil moist and ready for things to grow in it. Wow, trees are really important, huh? There's the monkeys talking to the man. A toucan, a macaw, and a cock of the rock flew down from the canopy. Senor, squawked the toucan, you must not cut down this tree. We have flown over the rainforest and seen what happens once you begin to chop down the trees. Many people settle on the land. They set fires to clear the underbrush. And soon the forest disappears. Where once there was life and beauty, only black and smoldering ruins remain. What are these birds saying about the humans and what they do to the rainforest? Pause this video. You're taking the evidence from the text right here. I want you to pause and think about what our toucan, our macaw, and our cock of the rock are saying about the humans in this page. They're using the evidence. What are they saying that humans do to the rainforest? I wonder why it would be a problem for the humans to do this. Let's keep reading. A bright and small tree frog crawled along the edge of a leaf. In a squeaky voice, he piped in the man's ear, Senor, a ruined rainforest means ruined lives, many ruined lives. You will leave many of us homeless if you chop down this great kapok tree. Let's think about that. Our tree frog says that if he chops down the tree, he will leave many animals homeless. Guys, how does chopping down this tree lead to many animals becoming homeless? And how do you know? So you're using evidence from the other pages. You're using evidence from the other parts of the story that we've read, the things that the animals have said about the tree, the things that the animals have said about humans. How does chopping down this tree lead to many animals becoming homeless, and how do you know? Pause your video, go back and rewatch, go back and find your evidence to answer this question. Great job, scholars. A jaguar had been sleeping along a branch in the middle of the tree. Because his spotted coat blended into the dappled light and shadows of the understory, no one had noticed him. Now he leapt down and padded silently. Over to the sleeping man. He growled in his ear, "Senor, the kapok tree is home to many birds and animals. If you cut it down, where will I find my dinner?" Interesting. So the jaguar has an interesting reason for needing the kapok tree. Think back to when the bee said all living things depend on one another. How does the jaguar depend on this tree? And how might the rainforest depend on the jaguar? So you're thinking back to what the jaguar just said. How does the jaguar depend on or need this tree? And how might the forest need the jaguar? Because all living things depend on one another. You're pausing, you're stopping, talking to someone at your house, and writing out your answers to become great writers. All right, guys, thank you. 4 tree porcupines swung down from branch to branch and whispered to the man, "Senor, do you know what we animals and humans need in order to live? Oxygen! And Senor, do you know what trees produce? Oxygen. If you cut down the forest, you will destroy that which gives us all life." Interesting. Porcupines have a good point, y'all. Several anteaters climbed down the kapok tree with their young clinging to their backs. The unstriped anteater said to the sleeping man, "Senor, you are chopping down this tree with no thought for the future. And surely you know what happens tomorrow depends upon what you do today. The big man tells you to chop down a beautiful tree. He does not think of his own children, who tomorrow must live in a world without trees." So what the anteaters are saying here is if you chop down the tree today, it's going to affect the future. And we saw evidence of that in planting the trees of Kenya. It started out with just chopping down a couple trees, but eventually the trees didn't grow back. And so they had no trees. So they didn't have enough food. The soil dried up and ran away. This is something for the man chopping down the tree and for us to think about. Chopping down our trees today might mean that there are no trees tomorrow. And what do trees produce? You got it, oxygen. Uh-oh. A 3-toed sloth had begun climbing down from the canopy when the men first appeared. Sorry about that. A 3-toed sloth had begun climbing down from the canopy when the men first appeared. Only now did she reach the ground, plodding ever so slowly over to the sleeping man. She spoke in her deep and lazy voice. "Senor, how much is beauty worth? Can you live without it? If you destroy the beauty of the rainforest, on what would you feast your eyes?" So I'm getting some information about a sloth. If I didn't know about a sloth before, I could tell that a sloth moves slowly because the author says potting ever so slowly. She spoke with a deep and lazy voice. So I know that a sloth might appear lazy. I know that a sloth moves very slowly based off of what the author just told me about our sloth. There it is. A child from the Yanomamo tribe who lived in the rainforest knelt over the sleeping man. He murmured in his ear, Senor, when you awake, please look upon us all with new eyes. So apparently, for the people that live in the rainforest, these trees are also important for them. They need them for many reasons, and they understand their value, the people that live around the rainforest. The man awoke with a start. Before him stood the rainforest child, and all around him, staring, were the creatures who depended upon the Great Kapok Tree. What wondrous and rare animals they were. Wow, that's a scary sight. I'd be like, oh goodness. The man looked about and saw the sun streaming through the canopy. Spots of bright light glowed like jewels amidst the dark green forest. Strange and beautiful plants seemed to dangle in the air, suspended from the great kapok tree. The man smelled the fragrant perfume of their flowers. He felt the steamy mist rising from the forest floor, but he heard no sound, for the creatures were strangely silent. Just as when they first got there. The man stood and picked up his axe. He swung back his arm as though to strike the tree. Suddenly, he stopped. He turned and looked at the animals and the child. So what do you guys think he's going to do? Make a prediction. What do you think the man with the axe is going to do? Is he going to continue to chop down the tree? Or did the animal's plea and the boy's plea while he was sleeping work? Let's see. He hesitated. Then he dropped the axe and walked out of the rainforest. So the animals and the little boy worked. They got him to stop and preserve their habitat. So how is our main character different at the end of the story than at the beginning? And how do you know? So you're going to go back, use evidence, thinking about the beginning of the story, thinking about at the end of the story, how is our main character different? So we have an endnote from our author. He wrote a letter directly to us. And let's go ahead and read that and see what he has to say. Dear readers, I wrote the Great Kapok Tree to let the world know what happens to the rainforest creatures and to the entire planet when rainforests are destroyed. I hope that after reading this book, you will have saved the rainforest. The Great Kapok Tree is about the Amazon rainforest, a tropical rainforest, but we have a temperate rainforest in the Pacific Northwest of the United States that we must protect too. Please care for Mother Earth. Together, we can make a difference. Lynn Cherry. Wow. So our author wrote this letter to tell us that it's up to us and that she really wants us to preserve the rainforest. So this story was very important and something that we should be thinking about throughout our unit, sharing the planet, because it is our right and responsibility to protect our world and to make sure that we're sharing it with other animals. So I want you to think about the importance of this setting and the problem talked about. Talk about it with someone at your house. So our last question is, how did the animals of the forest change the man's mind? And what did they teach him? So you're going back using evidence, showing specific examples of what the animals in the forest did to change his mind and what they taught him or what they taught you. All right, scholars, thank you so much. I hope that you've stopped and written your answer and also completed our exit ticket online. Thank you so much for participating in Read Aloud. I hope that you've enjoyed these and you can go back and read them as much as you want throughout the summer. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Do your exit ticket. Bye.